Okay, this evening I am going to call the meeting to order on behalf of Judge Executive Chuck Dills. I would like to acknowledge from a health perspective, he is under the weather. He is in good spirits, and he will have a medical procedure tomorrow afternoon where he will likely return to work shortly thereafter. So just wanted to acknowledge and ask for prayers for him, as I am very thankful he listened to his body in a moment where I think some of us like to ignore things and work our way through them on our own. So I'm just thankful that that he will receive that procedure here shortly. So on behalf of just sharing that announcement, which he did acknowledge that I could share that, so I would like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, Jenna.
Magistrate Humphrey.
Present.
Magistrate Coldarn.
Present.
Magistrate Riley.
Present. So this is a special meeting, and our first order of business from Fiscal Matters is a first reading on ordinance number 0010-2026-0302 for fiscal year budget 2026-2027. There's been a decent amount, a robust amount of discussions and revisions. The department heads, in collaboration with the county treasurer and with the Judge Executive Chuck Dills. I know us magistrates, we participated in a lengthy caucus, what was that, 4 weeks ago or so. Just a few highlights. One, I do want to acknowledge the full budget, due to the length of its entirety, will not be read in full, but there is an available copy that any citizen is able to obtain through the Judge Executive's office. But there are a few key highlights that the judge asked for me to reflect just from a verbal standpoint to acknowledge. First off, the budget does contain, from a highlighting perspective, a CPI of 2.71% for the majority of departments. Or for the majority of employees. There are a few departments that the court has been on a journey over the past several years as we play a role in course correcting from a competitive standpoint. Those few departments this year, the budget will reflect a higher adjustment than a CPI within the animal shelter laborers, the road department, and then the sheriff had already adjusted from a bailiff salary and our road deputy salary. So those respective departments have had some modifications, higher transparently than a 2.7 CPI, which again reflects the journey that the court has been on for probably the last decade or so, as monies become available and the county is in a better financial disposition, and we look across from a competitive standpoint, there are a few areas that reflect that adjustment. In addition to that, I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge from an equipment standpoint, the sheriff has also done some research in comparison to lease to own versus directly buying fleet from a cruiser perspective. So on average, the county would typically buy 1 to 2, maybe 3 cruisers a year. I think that's only happened a handful of times. It's more so been 1 or 2. With the prior couple years, we had not replaced any fleet just due to the financial disposition, but Sheriff did do some benchmarking, and this county has had successful experience with lease to own. We did it about a decade ago with trucks within the road department, and so this budget does reflect, Dennis, 5 cruisers, is that 6? 6 cruisers that the county will, over the course of the next couple years, make an annual payment. Is annual, correct, Peggy? An annual payment from a lease-to-own perspective. And again, based off of our experience of how that played out within the road department, like I said a decade ago, we felt comfortable, one, from a financial perspective, that the cost was relatively the same, but it does allow us to update 6 cruisers at once versus taking, 2 to 3 years to replace and upgrade 6 road cruisers. So did want to reflect that. And Dennis, thank you for the work that you did in researching that and bringing that as an option to us during budget time. So I'm excited for that, and I know the order will go in momentarily for, the fleet to be ordered, because it'll take several months, right? Lease to own. What did I say? Did I say that wrong? Was it? Okay. Lease, yes, lease to own, yes.
Yes.
So these will be, thank you for that clarity if I didn't state that accurately. So that was another key highlight. Another new thing that some of you will notice if you pay attention to the budget, LARP funding from a county road perspective this upcoming year does require a match that the county previously has not had to. In this particular budget, there are 8 county roads that signify a 17 to 18% county match that we will have to contribute, again, that we hadn't done in the past because it wasn't a requirement. That is a new requirement, and the road department budget will reflect that match as we continue to seek financial support from the state to adhere to resurfacing county roads. That doesn't mean we'll only get to resurface 8 roads, but that is that particular line item with LARP funding from that perspective.
And we still have the flex
Yes.
funds to use some discretion with in addition to LARP.
Yep. And then lastly, before I open it up to my colleagues for any highlights, there are some areas in the budget that are reserved for transfer. So the monies are there, but they're not in a particular line item. So some might see some instances where there are low dollar amounts in a particular line item that is strategic, and those monies are accounted for, but they're in the reserve in a couple different places. So anything else that I missed, colleagues, that you felt like you wanted to ensure were treasurers from a key highlighting perspective? Okay, with that, then that concludes the first reading, and that will allow the Judge Executive Chuck Dills to sign that and for that to be routed by the treasurer to Department of Local Government for review. And then we will publish for the second reading for it to be final in the coming weeks. Okay, I would now like to present for a motion in accordance with the provisions of KRS 64.527 to adjust the compensation for 2026 for the members of the Grant County Fiscal Court, that being the magistrates, in the amount of 2.7 as determined by the local Department of Government effective July 1st, 2026. And recall the next couple motions, requests for a motion, this was tabled as we worked through the respective budgets. So this is coming off of prior discussions where the court had requested to table it until we were able to work through the budget. So I'd be looking, yes, so I'd be looking for a motion, please.
Okay, I do present for motion in accordance with the provisions of KRS 64.527 to adjust the compensation for 2026 of the members of the Grant County Fiscal Court magistrates in amount of 2.7 as determined by the Department of Local Government effective July 1st, 2026.
I'll second.
That also includes the
It'll be down the
below,
next
okay.
ones. Roger, you second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, second item under this respective manner is present for a motion in accordance with provisions of KRS 64.527 to adjust the compensation for 2026 for the Grant County Coroner in the amount of 2.7 as determined by the Department for Local Government, also effective July 1st, 2026.
I'll make a motion under the provisions of KRS 64.527 to adjust the compensation for the 2026 of the Grant County Coroner in an amount of 2.7 as determined by the Department of Local Government effective July 1, 2026.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
not used to playing this position. Next area of business, present for a motion in accordance with provision of KRS 15-765 to adjust the compensation for 2026 of the Grant County Attorney in the amount of 2.7 as determined by the Department of Local Government effective July 1st, 2026.
I present for a motion in accordance with the provisions of KRS 17.765 to adjust the compensation for 2026 of the Grant County Attorney in the amount of 2.7 as determined by the Department of Local Government effective July 1st, 2026.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now looking for a motion that the next meeting of this body be held Tuesday, June 2nd, or, excuse me? It is a special meeting. Sure. It's supposed to be on the agenda, but we serve the people. So, County Attorney, is that legal?
It works. I was just curious, I just needed clarification on the raises. So are all the employees going to get that 2.7 raise, or is it just those that were mentioned?
All employees will at least receive the CPI of 2.7, yes.
Okay, good. And I know we've discussed it before, the shredder, is that going to be repaired?
There is a line item in there for that. There are still analysis being conducted that the judge executive is leading and others are contributing. No decision or update to share on that other than it is still being worked. But there is still a line item there.
There's still placeholder for that.
Good. And the tires, I didn't get a chance to ask the last time about the tires. What's being done with those right now?
Still researching.
Okay. I mean, are they still out there, or some have been removed, or
From where
from where the shredder is?
They're still there.
They're still there.
They're all still there?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. I was just curious.
Yep.
Thank
Anything else?
you. No, that's it for now.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Do you mind to come up to the mic so that it can be recorded?
Oh, there you go.
Come on. We'll get feedback that they can't hear.
Okay, who is the Department of Local Government?
Who are they?
Yeah.
It is out of Frankfurt, and Shauna chime in, Roger. It is part of checks and balances for local county government.
And how did they determine that?
I would assume through statute. I would assume through statute.
Statute.
Yeah, if
The
you type,
2.7?
please.
Say what?
Does 2.7?
Oh, are you talking about the CPI? Where does
Yeah,
that come from?
yeah.
Yes, they do an annual compensation analysis, and then they issue that to all governing bodies to consider. It is not a requirement to take that amount. You could take more, less, or none, but that is what was projected and shared with us, back in February?
Yeah, it's usually based on economic conditions, and it's that is for all the state of Kentucky. All the counties would have received something like that, as that's what the CPI is. And that's just a recommendation, as she says. It has nothing to do with saying you have to give a raise like that. You know, it's just defining the economy.
Mm-hmm. And is that the CPI? Is that going for everybody? But the shoot, I had it written down here for the dog pound and the bailiff and somebody else, and they're going to get something different.
Everyone will receive at least the CPI. There are a few departments that were left on the journey that this court's been on for the last decade to help course correct and make compensation adjustment changes to be more competitive. So there are a few departments that would have received more than the CPI, which those would be the last few remaining,
Right.
As we have been on this journey for about a decade.
Okay. And you don't want to say that?
Oh, what, the animal shelter?
Well, I know who you're talking about, but what monies are you talking about? What percentage?
you come get a copy of this. It's way too much to share, but we do have a detailed copy if you'd like to see.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, so anyone else? All right, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this evening to allow us to reconvene on Tuesday, June 2nd of 2026, unless there is the call of the chair to have an earlier meeting.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you for coming out this evening.